Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be changing the oil in my motorcycle. Right here are some tools that I'll be using. Just some Allen keys and a socket wrench. Before you start, you want to make sure your motorcycle is flat. I use a chuck. You could use a rear wheel stand if you need to. Down here is the oil pan that we want to get to. As you can see, it's behind the cowling. We're going to have to remove the cowling to get to it. Between the cowling you could see the peephole here, that tells you the current oil level as well as the oil quality, and as you can see that's a little bit dirty. To remove the cowling you need to remove that bolt right there, these two bolts, and there's a fourth one right here. Once you remove all those bolts, you should be able to remove the right side of the cowling, but we're also going to need to remove the left side because that's how we could get to the oil filter. As you can see right there, it's easier to access from the left side, so we're going to remove these two bolts. Another one down here and another one over here. So once we remove those bolts, we should be able to remove the left cowling as well. So let's get to it. So we're going to be using a size 5 Allen key for this. Feel free to use any other tool that you have, but I would say do this by hand because you definitely don't want to strip the bolts or anything like that. So yeah, I would recommend you do this by hand. I would also recommend you not wear rubber gloves while you do this part because it's kind of hard to manipulate the Allen key while you're wearing rubber gloves. So for this one we're going to use a long side because it's kind of deep, so we're going to use a long side of the Allen key to remove this one. And it's a bit magnetic too. It's different from the other bolts. As you can see, it's a little bit different. If you have any light kits on your motorcycle, you want to remove those just so you don't damage the wires. You want to make sure you unclip any lights. So now we're going to remove the cowling from the left side. And we're just doing the rear cowling. We're not going to do any other ones, just the bottom, because we want access to the oil pan and the filter. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, sharing this with a friend who could use this information. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'll respond. For this last bolt, we want to use a different size Allen key because it's a bit smaller, so it's one size down. The one that we were using before was a size 5. This is a size 4. You also want to use a long side because it's easier, it's more accessible by using a long side for this bolt. And that's the last bolt for the left side. You want to make sure you also remove the light kit from this side, and then you want to pop the cowling out. So while you're taking the cowling off, you want to make sure you're gentle with it so you don't break the clips. There's one bolt that was left from the right side. That's what we're going to remove now, and that way the whole cowling has been removed. So we want to be careful. You might want to put something soft under the cowling while you do this part so you don't scrape it up. And once you remove it, you want to put it somewhere where it's not going to be damaged. This is the oil pan here. This is what we're going to be removing to drain the oil, and then the filter is right here. And as I mentioned before, it's easier to get to the filter from the left side of the motorcycle. Beside the filter is the coolant reservoir. So while we have the cowling off, it makes sense to just top it up. We want the level to be right in the middle there. So we're going to be pouring it from the top. This is the coolant that I use. I'm not sure what you use, but definitely go ahead and while you have the cowling off, just put some coolant in there so you don't have to take the cowling back off to do this part. So we're just going to top it off a little bit and make sure we get it to a good level. So right there in the middle, that's good. So it's right in between the lower and upper limit. And then you want to make sure you put the cover back on really tight because you don't want it to become loose while you're riding, right? Good. Before we start the oil change, we're going to start the bike up a little bit, you know, let the oil circulate a little bit, and then we're going to go into it. So you want to place the pan under the bolt, under the drain bolt, so that the oil goes into the pan and not on the surface, right? So before you start, you want to make sure you put gloves on because this is going to get a little bit messy. So you loosen the bolt and then you use your hand to remove it from the pan. And this is what it looks like. It has a washer on there. like the washer is a little bit squished. Maybe you can't see it on the video, so they recommend that you replace the washer every time you do an oil change. To remove the filter, I have this tool, but this one is too big, so I'm not going to be using it. I'm going to be using a vice grip, and in order not to damage the filter, I'm going to be using a t-shirt over it so it could be soft, right? Definitely don't use this tool if you're not comfortable doing it. Use something that's easier and less risky, but this is a tool that I'll be using. So you just want to get the filter loosened a little bit, and then you want to do the rest with your hand. Again, do not use a vice grip if it's too risky for you. Use a tool that's safer, right? Once you take the filter out, as you notice, it's draining on the pipe. The oil is draining on the pipe there, so you're definitely gonna have to clean that up. This is a new washer that we're gonna be using. We also got a funnel. When you're putting the drain plug back in, you want to replace the washer, and you want to start with your hand and screw it in as far as you could go, and then you want to use the tool to tighten it, right? So you want to get it as tight as possible, because again, you don't want any leaks. So make sure you tighten the drain plug as much as you can. Nice. So we're going to replace the filter now. The old one is right there being drained, so we're going to put on this new one, and then we're going to be good to go. So before you put the filter on, you want to make sure you get some engine oil around the gasket. Make sure you get, the gasket lubricated well before you put the new filter on. So you want to start with your hand, get it as tight as you possibly can by hand, and then you could go into using a tool, either a filter tool or, like I usually use, my vice grip with a t-shirt. Get it where it's just not vibrating out of place or falling off. Then you want to use some brake clean to clean up the excess oil that drained on the pipe. So you want to go ahead and spray some brake clean on there. You could use a paper towel to wipe it off, but you want to make sure you get all the oil off the pipes and the surrounding areas. So this is what it looks like after. Then we want to go ahead and put the oil in. So you want to remove the cap right here, and as you can see, the oil is a little small, so you're going to need a funnel. So I'm going to be using this funnel. I have some oil that I used from last season, last time I did an oil change. So you want to start with, if you have a little bit, you want to start with that, and then you want to go into the full bottles. So this takes 2-point-something quarts, so I'm going to dump out 2 quarts plus that a little bit that I had previously, and then I'm going to be topping it off with another quart. So let's see what I mean. So that's the second quart that I'm putting in there, plus the little bit that I previously put in. So now we're going to check the level. So to do this, we start the bike, get the oil circulating a little bit, and then we want to see where the level is at with that 2 quarts that we just put in. You'll see some smoke on your pipes. Don't worry about it. It's just the brake clean being burnt off. It's going to go away after a while, so just let it go ahead. And get rid of the brake clean. It's nothing, but you also still want to inspect your bike, make sure there's no oil leaks or anything, since you just changed the oil, but it will go away. So now we're looking at the peephole, and you can see it looks like there's no oil, but there is oil, right? So don't be fooled by this. It just means it's just not at the level that it's supposed to be. So now we're going to be topping off with this additional quart. We're not going to dump the whole quart in there. We're just going to be pouring it in little by little, and then checking the oil to make sure if it's at the level that we want it to be. So we're going to do it little by little, just like I'm doing here, and then once we finally get it at the level that we need it to be, we're going to stop, right? So now we're going to check the level. Right now I think we're at the level that we need to be, and as you can see, the oil is clean. So we want to be right in between that upper and lower marking, so right about there is good, and that's why you want your bike to be flat on a surface. That way you could measure it properly, right? Then you want to go ahead and replace the cap, and that concludes our oil change. So you could go ahead and replace the cowling as well. Remember to reattach your lighting. So thank you guys for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, thanks again. Have a good one, guys.